Hey, welcome everyone to our live stream. This is Ned from Caspio. As always, before I begin, I have to make sure my audio is working correctly, so that's always a quick housekeeping item that we have to do. If you are able to hear me, please let me know and we can proceed with today's live stream. Welcome back, many of you. Perfect. Excellent. We should be blazing fast. At least that's what AT&T promised me when I brought in the new provider. So hopefully we won't have any more technical issues. I know that my upload speed is now running at about 150 megabytes per second. My download speed is about 500 megabytes. So it's an overkill, but hey, at least we're going to have a smooth, hopefully smooth live stream without any technical glitches or issues. Welcome back, many of you. If you recall from last week, like I said, we had technical problems. So what we're going to do first in today's stream is we're going to cover off Zapier, makes you happier, and then we're going to cover off the topic that we had from previous week, which we didn't have, on how to improve patient engagement and communication. So we're going to begin with automation with Zapier, and then we're going to cover off the content from what we were supposed to have last week. All right, let me know if you have any questions before I begin, any comments, feedback. Hopefully you guys are all doing okay. Hopefully you had a good weekend, and hopefully you'll have a good rest of the week. Hey, King Capo. Hey, Brian, Josh, Phil, Stability, Era Lee. Welcome back. Loud and clear? Okay, well, let's begin. And if any questions come into the chat, I will pause the session, and I will definitely answer each and every question that comes in today. All right, so for today's content for Zapier, makes you happier, I have 2 zaps created. Each zap has one trigger, and we followed that trigger with 2 actions. So the very first one that I've set up today is in the patient in the healthcare industry. So I'm using Acuity, which is now owned by Squarespace, where you can see a list of appointments. So let me show you what that looks like. So I created this little scheduler where you can, as a patient, you can select a time where you would like to come in for a visit. And then once you set up that appointment, what we're going to do with Zapier, we're going to send that information, all that appointment information, to Caspio's table. And also when you set up the appointment, we are going to create a room inside daily.co. If you're not familiar with daily.co, they have a video-based platform. They also have a HIPAA-compliant video chat where you can have video conversations. And in this use case, I'm having primary care physicians having video conversations with their patients. So if you recall back during intense COVID days, even I had some video chats with my primary care physician, which was nice, not having to go into the office. So that was very helpful. So that's what we're going to create with Zapier today. I'm going to show you how, once you set up that appointment, we get that information into a Caspio table, and we're able to display that appointment on a calendar layout. And then we can click on that link to use a daily.co to have a video chat with our patients. And for this calendar, I'm actually logged in as the doctor. Okay, so let's do a quick demo. So here I am going to set up maybe my appointment for Wednesday, let's say maybe at 1:30 p.m. Continue, and then let me fill out my information here. So let's go with Ali Sheikh, and let's just say my phone number is something random here, and then we'll say ali.sheikh@patient.com. Okay. What's going to happen is when I complete this appointment, let's go into my Caspio table so that you can see that information. So let's open up the patient appointments. There's that information in my Caspio table. But inside daily.co, when I reload my page, I have created a room, and that room allows me to have that video conference with my patient. So now on the calendar, I don't know if it's going to actually launch the video because I'm using OBS. So I'm not sure if you're actually going to see the video player because my camera is turned on for OBS, the system that I use. So if I click on that link to join the meeting at that time, let's see what it looks like. Yeah, I cannot use the camera with this app because I'm already using it with the live stream today with YouTube. So now what we can do is we can send an SMS. We can also send an email to both the patient and the doctor to notify them maybe an hour before the meeting or a day before the meeting. Hey, your meeting is approaching. Click on the link so that you can log in and have that video chat with that patient or that doctor. Okay, so let me close that. So let's take a look at that Zap really quickly so that we can see. Beautiful style, Ned. Can I please have it? What style are we looking at? The only thing that I showed in Caspio so far is the calendar. Let me see if I can bring my... Do you see 4 of me in the camera in the bottom right? Hopefully I didn't mess up my camera now. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I don't know what you're seeing in the bottom right of the video live feed. Do you actually see just one of me, or do you see 4 and it looks grainy, it looks black and white? Not really sure if you can see me all that well. I can turn off my camera, I can bring it back, but then again, it's distorted on my end, so I'm not really sure what you're able to see. I see 5 of you? Okay. The big one in the middle too. So when I launched daily.co from Caspio, I guess it affected my camera here, and I don't really know how to go about fixing that now. Let me try something here. Let's go from that to that. Yeah, so I'm not really sure how I can fix that. You see 4? Well, I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I can turn off my camera, but when I turn it back on, it still doesn't fix it. I don't want to end the live stream. That's not going to be good. TechnoNed? Why don't we keep it TechnoNed? That's fine. We can look retro, yeah? No biggie. All right, let's continue. That's so funny. Okay, let's continue. So let's take a look at the Zap, yeah? So let me go inside it so that you can see what we did here and how all the fields are mapping out back and forth. So we're going to first trigger everything using Acuity, or now owned by Squarespace. So let's edit. So you choose the trigger app, which is Acuity Scheduling. That's available in Zapier. The event is new appointment. So when you set up a new appointment, then you're going to hit continue, choose the account. That is my account that I've created with Acuity. Then you set up the trigger. That's my calendar inside Acuity, which is, you can select this really easily using a drop-down. And then the appointment type is patient appointment. That's what I called it inside Acuity. And then you test the trigger, okay? And then you go into Caspio to connect the action. So I want a new record to be added into my Caspio table. So you choose your Caspio account, you set up the action here, and this is where you map out the fields, yeah? So you can select your fields from Acuity to be mapped out to your Caspio fields. So these are the fields in my Caspio table, and all you're doing is just simply mapping out the fields. To bring that data, you have date of appointment, you have time of appointment, date created, and you can map out a few more fields if you'd like. You just have to have those fields on the Caspio side as well, okay? And then the final action that we have is to create the room in daily.co. So once again, you connect your daily.co account to Zapier, you create a room, you choose the account. I've already selected that, and then we have a setup action. Now for my room name, I'm combining the first name and last name from Acuity. So I'm grabbing those 2 fields to create a unique room for my patient. So when they log in, they have a link just to the first and last name. And then couple of other things that I didn't really play around with, which is actually pretty cool, is you can delete the room, because in daily.co you get up to 50 rooms with the plan that I have. Max room is 50 rooms, but once the appointment ends, I've set it up for 1 hour. But if you notice here in Zapier, auto delete after, and then you can map this out to the field. See all the options. Time of the appointment, ending time of the appointment, which is usually an hour after. That's the way I've set it up. My appointments are 1 hour long. So I can use that field. I didn't do it, but I could use that field in here. So once the appointment ends, I'm automatically deleting that room from daily.co to make room for additional appointments that we can have. So that's kind of a cool integration there as well, to make room for other rooms to be added here in your list. But if you have a bigger plan, you can have additional rooms. You can also save recordings of all the video conversations with a different plan. I didn't really play too much around with it, but there are some cool integrations that you can enable with both Zapier and daily.co. Let's see, what else? And I think in the end, what you do is simply test the action, you publish your Zap, and then you can test it out by setting up the appointment. And the data should go into Caspio, and at the same time, the data should go into daily.co. Now for my calendar, the way I have this link set up, let's take a look at the data page. I only have one data page. It's very simple. Of course, you can create additional workflows and additional data pages. So you log in as the doctor, and then on the calendar, I have an HTML block, and all it does, it takes the URL from daily.co. So this URL is available from daily.co. I think you can find it. Let me see where I grabbed that from. Rooms. Yeah, right over here. So you grab the link up to here. Okay, so you would copy that, and then in Caspio, what you would do is simply insert your values as parameters with the dash in the middle. So first name dash last name. And then I have target equals blank to open up that link in a new tab. So that's why when you click on that link, it's going to open up a new tab and it launches that video player. So now the patient and the doctor can have that conversation. Okay. So I thought that was kind of a cool integration to do something like that, especially, and it doesn't apply just to the healthcare industry. You can also do that with interviews. If you'd like to have an interview with a potential candidate or an applicant, you can streamline everything by using Zapier and a couple of other third-party tools. Now for the second example, let me go back to my Zaps. Is using Clearbit. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Clearbit. It's actually kind of cool. The reason why is because you can enrich your list or your contact. So if you, let's say you only have an email that you collected from a prospect. Using Clearbit, they basically, I think they scour the internet for all the other information pertaining to that email. So if you were to type in an email address, and I'm using a free plan, and you hit enter, it grabbed a lot of information about me. So it grabbed my email, that's what I provided, my title, my LinkedIn profile, all the company information. Let's see, what happens if the appointment changes? How can Zapier update the same Caspio unique record? That is a good question. I didn't really check to see if there's a way to do that. I know that you can cancel the appointment in Acuity. They have the ability to cancel the appointment. But will it update in Caspio? Ooh. I have to check. One thing that I noticed, which was, I'm a little surprised by that. Let's take a look at this really quickly. Let's take a look at this Zap once again. I have to check in on this because the event, let me edit. Choose an app, the event, and then notice how it only does new record in Caspio, which I'm a little confused by about because I was under the impression that we can do update as well as the action. So I have to look into that. When I was doing Zapier, I actually did all of this over the weekend. I didn't have access to anybody at Caspio to confirm if we can do update, but I really thought that we can also update as the action in Caspio. So to answer your question based on that, I guess you cannot, but I need to look into it. Because we should be able to update in Caspio as well as the action if something else happens in a different provider, and not just to add a record into the Caspio table. I know when I was using Zapier years ago, I know for a fact that we were able to delete and update and not just to add a new entry into the table. So that's something I have to look into. So I'll answer your question right now. Based on what I see here, we cannot, but I know that we can delete that appointment in Acuity. I just don't know if we can send that deletion back to Caspio, because we need to update the record and not insert a new record, which is a little bit limited if you ask me. Yeah, so we would need to map out the ID of that. Yeah, you're correct, to that patient. So that is another thing that I'll look into. Could have sworn that we were able to do update as well as delete. So I don't know why we're only seeing new record. That's why in my next example, you're going to be able to see how I duplicate a record using my Zap. I should have done 2 tables, but I'm only using 1 table. Okay. So then in this example, I thought it would be a really cool implementation to add something to a Caspio table. So let's say you only have the email. You send that email to Clearbit. Clearbit finds all that related information to that email and sends it back to a Caspio table. But it's not going to update the Caspio table. It's just going to add an additional record to it. So I think it would be better if we had 2 tables. You add an email to one table, and then in your customer or your leads table, it populates the information. But I didn't do that. So let's see how it works. So I am going to go into a different application here on the Caspio side. Yeah, cancel that. And I used my sales CRM demo. Let's go into tables, customers. All right, so I'll just delete what I did before. So let me delete that, and let me add that email. Okay, I'm going to add the email. So the email is now sent to Clearbit, and within just a few seconds, I don't know how long it's going to take. Sometimes it's instant, sometimes it takes a few seconds. The information should come back, and there it is, populates the Caspio table with the additional mapped data. So now we can see the company address, that's the Caspio address. We have the industry, number of employees, and description. But those are really the only fields I mapped out. But the problem is you can see that I'm creating a duplicate entry, so this doesn't really make any sense. So I think the better implementation would be to have 2 tables. If you just add that email to one table, it adds the information into a completely separate table. And you can also add the email back in here as well. But I really thought that was interesting, that if you are generating leads and you don't have all the information, somebody else can do it for you and send that information back to your table. So then what I did was, let's take a look at that Zap. Edit. So the trigger app is to create a new record in Caspio. And here you can see on the trigger, we can delete and we can update a record, but not on the action. So that's interesting to me. So if I delete something from my CRM table or my customer table, I can have some other action happen, but not coming back to Caspio. But I really thought that we could do both ways, based on the trigger and based on the action. So that's something that I have to look into. Terrible visual. Hey, Duran, are you talking about me in the bottom right-hand corner? Where you see 4 of me, little retro look? I know it's a bad visual of me. Because when I was doing the Zapier for daily.co, I didn't expect that behavior to happen. So I tried to fix it, but I wasn't able to fix it. Initially, when the live stream began, you could see me clearly, just me. But then when I launched daily.co, it affected my video camera quality here in the bottom right. I don't know why. You can see I was trying to turn off my camera. Okay, so now I'm missing, but when I bring myself back, once again, it looks distorted and it has this retro look. I don't know why it did that. But I wasn't able to, I'm not able to fix it, and I don't know why. I mean, my camera's right there. I turn it on and off on my OBS software that I'm using, but it's still, for some reason, looking like that. I'm not happy with it. If it's easier, if it's less intrusive, I can turn off my camera, So you guys don't have to be bothered with me looking like that. So just let me know if it's easier like that, or if you'd like me to just continue to use the camera. But that's my apologies. I don't know how to fix that. I can make myself smaller. Here, we'll put myself even smaller, so it's less. Okay. All right. Hey, Tracy. So when you create that record in Caspio, in that table, when you add the email, of course, you always have to choose the account. This is my Caspio account. You set up the trigger. That's my table. Okay, and then you can test the trigger. Then what you do is you have the action, which is Clearbit. So on Clearbit side, the event that you're using here is find a person and or company. So Clearbit has this ability to find if you're looking just for the person or company related to that person. So I'm using both. Okay, find a person and or company. So that is my account with Clearbit. Then you set up the action. And this is basically where you're going to map out all the fields. Okay. Let's see. No, I'm sorry. This is basically where the you're looking for that person and company based on the email that you're sending from Caspio. Okay, and then the final, which is to create a new record in Caspio, you once again connect it back to your Caspio account, choose the account, and then you set up the action, and this is where you're going to map out the fields from Clearbit back to your Caspio table. Okay, so this is the final step. And you can see I've mapped out the person's full name, company name, employment title. That's why when the information came back from Clearbit, that's the information that was populating in my table. But if you look at all the different fields that you can grab from Clearbit, there's a ton of information that you can send back to your Caspio table if you decide to map out all of these fields, if that's the information that you need inside your own CRM. Okay? Is everyone else seeing a blurry screen? Sorry, I did not mean to zoom in. Let me know if everybody else is seeing a blurry screen. Hopefully that's not the case. What's showing in my OBS, it's very clear and crisp, but looks like Durand is having some issues. Hopefully that's not the case. I'm really hoping so. Let me know. Good on your end, Josh? Okay. Good. You can read it? Okay. Yeah, so there's 4 of me. Yeah, I know that part. I just want to make sure that the main content on the screen is not blurry. So maybe you can click on the gear icon as Brian mentioned. I don't know if that's going to fix it, but if you click on the gear icon, you can change the resolution to hopefully 1080p so it comes out a little bit more crisp. But yeah, the final one, when you watch the video later on, it should be in 1080p. You just have to change it in the settings. Okay, good. I know about myself. I wish I can fix me. Not that you really need to see me. But yeah, there's not much I can do about that. All right. Let me know if you have any questions on the Zapier side. We covered off 2 different triggers and 2 additional actions. I thought this was a nifty implementation with the CRM. Let somebody else do the work, collecting that data and feeding that data back into your Caspio table. You can see the rest okay? All right, so looks like many of you don't have any issues with the clarity of the main screen. That's good. And hopefully you liked my choice with the integration. Usually I come up with these on my own, but if you would ever like to see something with Zapier, or maybe even a different provider like Integromat, we can do something different. I have no problem exploring and doing different types of implementation based on people's needs. Yeah, all I need is some dance music in the back, yeah? Just wish I knew how to fix it. And I am not ending the stream just to fix my own camera. We're not going to do that. All right, let's continue to the next topic that we were supposed to cover off last week, but we had technical issues, so we're going to do it today. And that is how to improve patient engagement and communication. And I basically copied what I have with Sutter Health. That is who I go to and my dashboard. And I like what they had, so I wanted to kind of mimic that and clone that using Caspio. All right, so I just need to log into a different application for that, so just bear with me for a second. Number one thing that I like what they have is every time I go for my appointment, for a visit, the very next day they send me a survey, okay, automatically to my email to ask for my feedback on how they did. So that's one way to improve engagement with the patients, to let that healthcare organization, let them know how you felt about the service that you had with that doctor. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to look at today. So you will see that in let me just close all the Zapier information that I have up here. And then we're going to open up patient portal, submit a visit. So we have the patients and we have the surveys, right? One patient can be linked to many surveys. So we're going to be stamping the patient ID into the survey table. Right? And I only have a few questions here just to demonstrate the workflow. Okay, so it's not going to be a complete survey. But what the task is going to do, and let's take a look at the task. I have this task running daily at midnight, and I want to send an email to my patient the day after their visit. So I'm grabbing the information from the patient's table, and I create my join between my patient's table and my visits table. Okay, so that's the visits table, and we're connecting those two tables using the patient ID. This is the primary key, and that's the foreign key, so that we can grab information from both tables, both the patients and the visits table. And the reason why we need that is we need to send this email based on the condition that if or where the difference in days equals to 1. Okay, so we have the date visited. So when a patient comes in for a visit, let's say it's today, and let's say tomorrow, which is going to be the 14th, that equals to 1. That is today's date. So if that equals to 1, we're going to send that email. So here is the subject. Okay, that's the patient's email. So that's why we need the patient's table so we can pull that information. And this is the body of our email, right? We have the link to the survey form. I'm only using a direct link at this point to that data page. But in the midst of them clicking on that link, we're passing the patient ID so that we can store that patient ID inside the surveys table. Okay, and you're basically inserting that patient ID as a parameter using this drop-down menu. Okay, so let's take a look and see how that functions. So if I select my patient, let's say we have our blood pressure 135/90. If last week's live stream was any indication of that, that probably put my blood pressure up a little bit higher because we didn't have the live stream because of those technical issues. My weight is decent, 180. My pulse is at 80. Temperature is 96. And doctor's comments will just say NA and hit submit. So if I go back to my table of visits, right? There's that visit that we just submitted. But that happened today. So tomorrow on the 14th, I'm going to get that email. Okay. But if we're going to test this right now, I'm just going to change this to the 12th. So let me just change that to the 12th. Okay. Let's go to our task. It's not localization. Let's go to task and let's run that right now. So now I should get that email. So let me check my inbox. Okay. So the email just came in. There's the email with the link, passing my patient ID into that link. So when I click on it, it opens up the survey form, and now I can submit my survey. There's a hidden field here that's stamping this patient ID that we just passed, right? So we can say Excellent. Did we meet all your expectations? Yes. Doctor was great. Okay, we hit submit. Okay, and then inside my table of surveys, we should be able to see that, including the patient's ID, which is my ID from the patient's table. Okay, now you don't have to just send an email. Okay, you can also send an SMS if you'd like. So you can send both. You can do an SMS and an email, and then you're just going to copy exactly what you have up here, down here as well, where you select the data from your patient's table. You can do a join, and then you just clone. Or you can just right-click and duplicate and just snap that in place, which is even faster. Okay? All right, let me delete that. So that's one example. The task can also run if you have appointments. I didn't do appointments, but let's say you have an appointments table and you are wanting to send an email reminder, an SMS reminder, maybe a day before or an hour before the appointment. You can do that using the same exact setup that you see here. Instead of days, you can do hours. So if it's 1 hour before the actual time of the appointment, you can send that email or you can send that SMS the day before or an hour before to remind the patient, hey, your appointment is coming up. Okay, but again, it would use the same exact setup as you see here to do that. So that's another way of how you can improve engagement and communication with your patients by either having a survey like that or appointments, or you can also send a message to the patient's portal. So if you had, let's say, patients logging in, so that's my portal. I can see all of my prior visits, where I can see all of my vital signs. And then if I'm getting a message from my primary care physician, let's just say that I'm logged in as the doctor. I select the patient that I want to send a message to. This would eventually be a hidden field, but the reason why I have this showing is that I'll show you how this was set up in just a moment, is to notify the patient, hey, you have a new message inside the portal, log in to retrieve that message. So if I say, your lab work is ready, I don't know. I really should have had a file upload field as well to maybe upload the lab work, maybe their ultrasound or lab work, blood work that they can review. So if I hit submit, once again, I'll get an email notification. Let me see if I set that up. Yeah, I did. So here's the email. Notifies me. Please log into your healthcare account to retrieve your message. Thank you. So that way you can log in, reload, and now you can see that message that came in today. Okay, so you can see how that was set up on the data page side. Don't save. So when you send a message, so based on the messages table, we have the patient ID and we have the message as our two fields. So the patient ID is going to be a dropdown, which is what we just looked at. So if I reload, you see a dropdown. Lookup table is going to be the patient's table where you can see the name, but field for value is going to be the ID. And then the virtual field, which doesn't actually submit anything to a table, is using a cascading dropdown based on the patient's table, filter cascade by patient ID, which is in the prior field, and then simply displays the email based on your selection up here. So it's a cascading dropdown that pulls the information based on the parent field right above. Okay, and then what you can do using that virtual field, once you pull that email in the messaging, you enable your acknowledgement email, and then you can use that virtual field in the following screen right. So now what's going to happen is when you submit that form, this email is going to go to that drop down underneath that selects the email field. So it's just going to go to that virtual one email that was selected in the cascading dropdown. And then you say, you can customize the message to read whatever you want. Okay. So it's just a efficient way to, keep your patients aware, by either sending an SMS or an email to let them know, hey, you have a new message in your portal, or you can send that survey automatically, or you can send them a reminder before their appointment to automate a lot of these things on the front end and also on the back end side. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions. Let's check the time. It's 10:35. I really am sorry for my camera quality in the bottom right. I did not expect that to happen. So now I know not to launch any more other video players because it's going to distort my own camera. I'm tempted to turn off my camera manually here and turn it back on just to see what's going to happen, but I'm not sure if that's a smart thing to do. All right, so we have officially covered off all the content. We had how to improve patient engagement and communication using the task. There are other ways of how you can do that. As I mentioned before, you can send an SMS or an email an hour before or a day before to notify your end user. There is one last thing that I wanted to cover off. I completely forgot about that, which is a more advanced way to do scheduling. You know how in Acuity we were able to schedule those appointments? You can also do the same thing in Caspio, but it will require some customization using JavaScript and some SQL, especially on the table side. So let's just say that the very first step is to choose your location. Okay, that's very standard. So let's say Redwood City, we hit submit, and it shows me all the available appointments for Redwood City. Okay, and then you select the time, let's say for Wednesday, 4 p.m. It takes you to a form, and now you can book that with a specific doctor. You can also have this be a single doctor that's linked to that patient. Your phone, your email, symptoms, and then send me an SMS reminder and send me an email reminder maybe a day before, an hour before. I don't know how this is set up. Then you would hit submit. You set up that appointment. You also have cancellations here. Yeah, I didn't cancel any appointments, but you could cancel appointments if you wanted to. Or you can go to a different location and you will be able to see the available times for that location as well, where you can book those appointments. Okay. I'm not going to get into too much detail on how this was set up. I will show it to you, however. So let me go to that application really quickly. So that's this one down here, scheduling app. The reason why I don't want to dive too much into this application is because it's somewhat technical, because it's replacing Acuity, but you will see on the data page side to create that button. So that is second step, booking calendar. So we use a weekly calendar data page. Okay, right over here in the HTML block. So this is to create the button. All right, and what the script is doing is formatting that button to include the time. So this is the time of the appointment. And then you can see, we've kind of looked at this in my training classes before to customize the formatting. So you do plus, single apostrophe, colon, plus, and then you have a space, and then you put AM or PM. So that's why on the front end, let's say you're doing the booking for San Jose. You can see that formatting to list the time. It creates the button and the PM. And then when you click on that button, it sends the information to this page. So it's passing the data to the subsequent page. So here on the Caspio side, you can see up here in the URL, LID. So we're passing the location ID and we're passing some other information to the following page so that we can receive that information on that submission form. Okay, but this is a little bit more technical. What I can do is I can make this available as a download in the description of the video. If you guys would like to explore that and see how it was done, you're welcome to do that. I will make it available as a download, and you guys can import that into your account and see how it was created. But just keep in mind, it is somewhat technical. Even on the table side, when you look at those location availability times, But this is more or less the main table. You can see when you create the available time, it's always creating it automatically. Okay, it's creating that time availability automatically for you using a task. Okay, which I will also cover off. But one thing that you may want to look at here is the combo date and time with the formula, which is using SQL. Just to, again, to format how it's displayed on the front end. Okay. The patient appointment booking form rocks. Thanks for the download, Ned. I'll play around with it. Okay, good. And then on the task side, you will see add appointments. So if I click edit, again, not going to get into too much detail here. You guys can explore this if you'd like. You can check with our team. But we have a loop here. Basically, what it's doing is always creating the available times, future available times inside that appointment table. Okay, that's basically what it's doing. Okay, but again, we're not going to get into too much detail. I looked at this last week. But if you guys would like me to go into a little bit more depth, you can see we have 3 different locations. So location 2, location 3, and location 1. Those are the 3 locations that we have. Okay, which is Redwood City, San Jose, and Santa Clara. And it's simply just adding from a specific time to a specific time, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And it's adding all of those available times, I think at a 30-minute increment, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. Once again, I want to apologize for my own camera. That happened when we launched daily.co. I was not expecting that to happen to my camera, which is very strange. But at least we got a little retro look out of it. Once again, thank you for attending. I hope that you enjoyed today's class on both Zapier and improving patient engagement and communication. We're not going to have a live stream next week. I'm going to be off on Monday, and then we'll be coming back again. Let's see. So I'm off on the 20th, and the next live session we're going to have is on the 27th. I don't have a topic picked yet for that class, so if you guys would like to say something, let me know now in the chat window or send me an email. Many of you have my email. Also, one thing that, has come up quite a bit in the past is when are we going to be able to send SMS messages to international phone numbers? Well, in release 32, which is going to be available, I think the release started last week and then this week. I don't know if I have it in my account just yet. Let me see. It will be under, I think, account settings. Yeah, you will be able to see SMS tab here very shortly, in a day or two. And then when you click on it, on the right side, you're going to be able to add countries that you wish to send SMS messages to. Okay, and then you're going to be able to, I know today we can do it domestically here in the US and Canada, but really soon here you're going to be able to do international. And we're also making enhancements and updates to the templates. We don't have the view yet. I think that's in the funnel. I think that's going to go out in 33 release to be able to pull information from the view. But now what you're going to be able to do is grab specific number of characters from the field from the value in the field and populate. Let's say you have a social security number field. And on the template itself, it's 3 different fields. What you can do is you can map out just the characters from one of your fields in the table. So only grab characters 1 to 3 and populate into that field into the template. And then characters 4 to 5, which are the middle numbers, and then 6 to 9, which are the last 4 numbers of the social security number. From a single field in your Caspio table, you can parse it and just transfer those characters into a PDF template that has 3 different fields. More readable? Okay, good. Rest assured that when this goes live on our YouTube channel later on, it's going to be clear. It's not going to be blurry. So I do apologize I don't know. I wish I knew how to fix it, but I don't think it's on my end. Got a cringe face on my look. But yeah, if this continues, let me know in the next live stream, Durand, okay? Otherwise, also let me know if the video quality is fixed in the recorded session when this goes live on our YouTube channel in a few minutes. It might take an additional minute or two for YouTube to process the video to make it available in HD, but yeah, check it out. Yeah, I apologize. I wish that that wasn't the case. Thanks, Katie. All right, I think we have officially covered off all the content. What I'm going to do is close the video feed, but I will keep the chat open just for a little bit longer to see if you have any more questions. And again, if you'd like to see something in these live streams, definitely let me know. Thanks, Phil. Let me know, and I will bring that into our live streams. Okay. All right. Thank you all. Have a good day. Stay safe. Have a good week. And we'll see you on the 27th. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.